to the Carla Murphy Show, Uniquely Different. We are in for an exciting show today. We are so grateful to have some talented young men who are going to present and show us some of their uniqueness. We know that on the Carla Murphy Show, Uniquely Different, we focus on being different. We focus on highlighting our uniqueness. We focus on showing the world how we are fearfully and wonderfully made. We are a little strange, we're different, but we are unique. So that being said, we know that we focus on family, community, Christianity, and business. And we are so excited about today's show and all of our participants. We're going to have as a part of the show Mr. Daniel Blackburn. He is a pastor of the Star of Bethlehem Baptist Church in Beacon, New York. He's going to come to us. He's a husband, a father. He is a business owner. He's an amazing graphic designer. He's just a wonderful, wonderful addition to the body of Christ. We're also going to have Mr. Samuel Harris and his team. He is also a young preacher from the Greater Hope Baptist Church in Buffalo, New York, where he serves as an associate minister. Him and his team, they're going to come to us with overdue bills. We're going to hear about that, overdue bills, and you are really going to enjoy the uniqueness of their production. We have Mr. David Blackburn, who is going to represent his company, Cultural Voice Box. Mr. David Blackburn has been an actor, he's a poet, he works in community affairs and relations, he worked in higher education, as well as he is a Christian educator in ministry. So we're in for a jam-packed day. Last but not least, we have Mr. Martin Bryant, who is a poet. He's a poet in his own right. He's written several poems, and the title of his collection is In the Midst of It All. He has many years of history behind him. He's a phenomenal writer, and we are in for a real treat today. So without any further ado, I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy all of the uniqueness of the talent that you will experience today. I know that you will learn lessons, you'll feel enlightened, you'll be encouraged, and you will be entertained. So we thank you for joining our show. Please enjoy.
Good day. My name is Martin Bryant, and I was asked to do a video about myself, but I don't like really talking about myself, so I'll talk about something I like to do, which is poetry. I started my own open mic in Buffalo, New York in 2019, and it was the first weekly open mic offering in Buffalo, New York, and it lasted for 5 years. It was down at 141 Elm Street in Buffalo, otherwise known as Sensations. We did poetry every Thursday night from 8 to 11, and from there it launched a lot of open mics in Buffalo. It opened open mics that went to Niagara Falls, went to Rochester, even went to New York City. And during this open mic, we even got a chance to open up for national comedians for 5 months. They had comedy shows on Fridays. And myself and my partner, we did a freestyle. And from there, we were invited to open up for the comedians, which was kind of cool. We've done open mics for benefits. We did a charity at Shays Buffalo back in 2000, which was nice. I've performed at University of Buffalo, at Canisius College, at Buff State, and even was featured at ECC South Campus in Hamburg. In 2002, when I relocated from Buffalo to the Maryland, DC, Virginia area, I did open mics in Maryland at the University of Maryland, I did open mics in downtown DC and was actually featured in their poetry circuit after winning third place in a poetry contest. Poetry has been good to me, and I've been good to poetry. I've performed also in Long Island, and currently, or in my past, I have written 11 poetry books, 7 of which are on Amazon, 2 of which I sold back in the early 2000s at my open mics. The funny thing is, I never liked poetry in grammar school, in high school. I kind of picked it up as a personal dare to myself because I've written everything that a person can write. I've written articles, which are now called blogs. I've written scripts. I actually wrote 2 movie scripts back in 91 and 92. I've written books. I've written things that appeared in the newspaper. I've written for people. And the last thing I told myself in 95 was that I had to write a poem. And for me, I thought all poetry was love poetry. So I don't really remember the poem itself, but I do remember the last line, and it was, "Your sweet serenity captures my true existence." And I didn't necessarily write this poem to someone. I just wrote it because, again, I thought poetry was love poetry. So that's where I started. Since then, in 2000, I graduated in my poetry, in my poems. 2004, I started a poetry series called In the Midst of It All. And I've written inspirational poetry since then, which has appeared in church bulletins as far as Seattle, Washington. I was contacted, which I thought was very cool, back in 2006. And someone asked me, could they buy one of my poems to put in their church bulletin, which was an honor. I've done poetry at my own church, Greater Hope Baptist Church, 8 Verplank, which every time I do a poem, it's an honor to do. And poetry for me is just my way of inspiring myself and other people. And this is probably the longest prelude to a poem in history, but I would be remiss if I didn't write a poem for this and recite it. In the midst of it all, the pandemico debacle, I feel like an animaniac like Dot, Wacko, and Yakko. Social distance, do we hide in the tower? Social injustice, do we just stay black and sour? Looking to the White House, what happened to the power? Like the Bible tells us, I will turn to God in this hour. Political prisoner, or is politics just a prison? I want to exist in a world we can raise our kids in, want to see my people elevate, and that's no cap. When I look at Corona, it shouldn't look like a cell phone coverage map. Are we covered or colored depends on who we ask. The last shall be first and the first shall be last. But we're somewhere in the middle but treated like the lower class. I'd rather have a pot than a window, a wall than broken glass. Even in fragments, we can still look above. In the midst of it all, we can hold on to love. Thank you, and I thank you, Carla, for this opportunity.
My name is Carla Murphy. I am partner CEO at MBC Global Enterprises, where our founder is Dr. James McConnell. Dr. James McConnell, he is an Amazon of services. We as a company have radio show, we have television shows. We help people, businesses to get more customers, clients, and leads. We offer courses regarding real estate. We offer courses on how to make more money from your phone, how to make money from the online. We offer courses on the stock market, also real estate. There are so many different things that we can help you to do. The radio show, the Small Business Network, is broadcast on Fishbowl Radio Network. The Small Business Network television show is viewed on UAN Network. The Dr. James TV show airs on the Dr. James TV network. These services are on demand. You can watch them at any time. NBC Global Enterprises, we're here to help people who have a business, people who are interested in starting a business or maintaining a business, growing their business, or people who have challenges in business. We are here as a support to resource you. We also offer a 4-tier platform called NBC's List. And NBC's List was built by Dr. James McConnell. It's like a combination of Angie's List and Craigslist. You will be able to get the platform and you will be able to put all of your information, and people will be able to reach out to you. We would love to be of assistance to you. We would love for you to come and partner with us. NBC Global Enterprises is a wonderful place to be. The partners are made up of people from various backgrounds. We have people who are in the delivery service. We have people who are authors, people who are dance majors. We have business developers. We have people from so many different backgrounds. NBC Global Enterprises, we are the number one partner for you. If you would like more details, please call me at 716-553-3109. Again, that's 716-553-3109. Or you're welcome to email me, Carla Murphy Uniquely Different at gmail.com. We're waiting for you. We're looking forward to partnering with you. We're looking forward to growing your business. We're looking forward to helping you, to help your family to move towards financial freedom and time freedom. So don't delay. Call us today. That's 716-553-3109. Dr. James McConnell, Carla Murphy, our partners at NBC Global Enterprises, look forward to servicing you.
Check it out. Come and check us out as we think it's a sports show. Come see what we about. Check it out. Come and check us out as we think it's a sports show. Come see what we about. Hey, Mike, Rad, Mills, Preach. Come check us out so you can see how everybody think. Mike, Rad, Mills, Preach. The show's about to start, so everybody take a seat.
What I'm bringing is single family households, especially in the area that I grew up in, Charlotte Cold Spring. You already know. There is a lot of single family households. Sometimes by choice, sometimes it just happens. You know, you got a lot of people that, you know, they start out young having children, and they have children, people they don't feel like they're going to spend the rest of their life with. So they end up having that single family household. I'm gonna live in the east side of Buffalo, so you got, you know, situations where the person you had a child with may be incarcerated. You know what I'm saying? So there are different reasons why you can have a single family household, but it is something that is a major impact in the Black community. So why? In the Black community, maybe I don't know. I think more so it's choices, right? A lot of people in the Black community make sometimes the wrong choice.
Well, I'm not asking you why single family households, you know, exist. I'm saying why what's the issue with them?
I mean, I don't really think it's that bad of an issue with it, but I think that, you know, when you have a household where you have both parents, that there is a chance that your child may grow up in a different way compared to a single family household. For instance, you have a mother and a father, you know, have a child, and the child goes stay with their mother Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then they with their dad Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. And, you know, they may go on a date together as a group on one of the other days. But I think you don't get that right mix, that right gel, you know, with your child that you should have, or what you could have when everybody was together. Us four, you know, we had the luxury of, you know, having a two-family household compared to somebody else that may have, they just stand with their mother, you know, or they stand with their father, and they don't get that support that we may have got, They don't get those life skills that we may have got together. And it's kind of like you're going in different avenues because your father, your mother may have different teaching methods. They may have different ways that they see things and they approach situations and stuff like that. Compared to when you're in a household with both your mother and your father, you can get both things at the same time and kind of put them together to find out what works best for you.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the greater impact is like not a father not being involved in your life at all. I think the fatherless homes is, when you look at the statistics, that it correlates with a lot of crime, or correlates with a lot of like dropouts, crime, not finishing school, jail, all those things where a lot of black men end up. It comes from the father not being in their lives. I don't know if it's a distinction between just being separated, like the mom and dad not being like together, co-parenting, or is it literally just not having your father in your life, or I think it's probably, I will lean towards the latter, just not having your father in your life. And it is it's a big issue. It's a correlation to it. It's a correlation to what I said, all the crime, and just and putting the pressure on the mom or the father. Usually single motherhood is what we talk about in the black community. But I think it's more of it's actually, if you look at it across the board, it's actually happening more so in white families as well, right? It's a black issue for sure, but for some reason it's becoming an issue across the board. Yeah. But it's definitely been affecting our community the most. And when you just look at it, it's just direct correlation. You just see, how do we figure that out? What transpired, all the things, all the government issued things, all the laws passed that broke up the family home, the black family. And it's a trickle down thing, but we got to figure out a way for either to have, like, teach up young men on what's the proper way to raise a family, to have a family, raise a family, to what family means, how to provide. And we got to figure out a way. I don't know how you make, like, what's in the psyche of a man to have a child and not want to be a part of their life. You know what I mean? I don't know. I was happy enough to have a father that was a part of my life. I have kids, I'm a part of their life. So I don't know what brings somebody to the point where you have kids running around, you're not a part of their life. I don't know what that is, but we got to figure that out. Why is that so prevalent in the black community, and we got to tackle from there.
Yeah, I think, I agree, Rad. Like you see it, primarily we're talking about father not being around, and I guess I would have to look this up, but I'm curious to see the stats on, like, how, like, girls grow up while having their father versus boys growing up not having their father, because it probably is a greater impact on the boy. But I don't know that. I'd look that up, because when we talk stories, right? Your dad talked about the handwriting. He talked about the red light district. Like, you spent time with your dad. My dad was my basketball coach growing up. Males talked about his dad in a barbecue. Priest talked about his dad, how much he loved his dad, and we know how great he is. So just not having that, and just show you what a man should be, right? Like, we argued about gender roles earlier, but at the end of the day, I hate when I hear black women tell black men what a man is. Like, oh, well, you should do this to be a man. It's like, you can't tell me what I need to do to be a man. You've never been a man. So having a man or having a father in a child's life, especially a young boy's life, like, it kind of keeps them on straight and narrow, scared. A lot of times the mom got to work 2 or 3 jobs, the son doing whatever, the daughter doing whatever. Men, the boys, they get into gang life because they feel like they got to make money, especially if you're the oldest. So you definitely see a correlation between the fatherless homes and the children growing up with whether it's crime, whatever case may be, right? Like you talked about. And I think that is a big issue. The psyche, I never even thought about the psyche of the people that just leave, right? That just go, like my grandmother, who just passed away one day, my grandfather or no, my dad's sperm donor, he when we went to the store, it never came back. And like my grandma just had to step up and take care of like 8 kids. So what he was going through, I don't know. I kind of don't care. But so when I look at it, I think about like, incarceration. I think about murder. Why the father isn't around. But there's a lot of cowards that just up and leave. And I guess getting to figure out why, I think that would be a big step in helping it, right?
But there's also those females that make that choice to have a child by a person, and then they choose to not have that person a part of their life too. So
a lot of factors. Yep.
Yes. I think we're talking about two different issues. Because single parent households, it's not necessarily the same thing as fatherlessness. Like those are
fatherlessness.
Exactly. Yeah, those are like two different things.
Yeah, see, I don't think single parent household is not like if your dad is still coming to all your football games and everything. I don't think that's an issue. It's when he's just not around.
Yeah, and vice versa, or if the woman is not around, and then you have the male. So I mean, it is like it's a myriad of a whole lot of things that can cause some issues with this. But what we do know is like from our own experience, we grew up in 2-parent households, and we know how beneficial that is. Like so, like
it's not a coincidence that we all went to the same school. We all semi-successful.
Yes, we know how beneficial that is. That is not to say that all people who grew up in 2-family households turn out right or turn out like that. That is not to say that. We're not saying that, nor is it to say that single parent households are people who may not have their father with you don't turn out good, right? So, because we see examples.
James.
Yeah, we see. I don't necessarily like when people point to him, but, because he was one of one
outlier.
Like, but nonetheless, we can name. There's other names like that, right? But I just think it's very nuanced, right? And I think it's case by case, because even people who are products of divorce. Like that can turn into a whole nother issue, right? And that could be a single, family household, and then you know what I mean. Like so, it's a lot of factors that play into these things. I think that if we can focus on the children, right, in a situation like making whatever transition they have to make that easier, trying to get them whatever help that they need. Whether it be, traumatic help as far as maybe talking to somebody about the situation or whatever the situation, I think the focus should be on the children, and then you should try to work your way to the parents, right? I think that you should try to focus on like making this situation, okay for them, and then, you can move on. But I like we said before, like we're just bringing these topics to the forefront. We're talking about them, and then hopefully, we can get somebody on that can lay some things out for us, right? Lay some things out for our audience. But
Hello, I'm Carla Andrea Murphy. I am the founder of the Carla Murphy Show, Uniquely Different. Are you looking for a platform to display all of your gifts and talents? Are you looking for a place to share about your greatness? Are you looking for a place to show the world about your business, your knowledge, your talents, your skills, and your abilities? If so, you found the right place. We would love to partner with you. We would love to display and to highlight you and to showcase you. Whether you have a business, whether you want to share about the greatness of your family, whether you want to share community resources, or help to win more souls to come to Christ. If you want to talk about your passion for Christianity, you've come to the right place. The Carla Murphy Show, uniquely yours, uniquely different, was designed especially for you. It was designed with you in mind. Please give us a call, area code 716-553-3109. Again, the number is 716-553-3109. Or you can email at Carla Murphy Uniquely Different at gmail.com. Please look us up on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter. We would love to hear from you. Let us show about your greatness. Come and be a part of the Uniquely Different showcase. And for more details, please feel free to contact me. We are waiting for you. 716-553-3109. Looking forward to meeting you.
What would happen here is that you might have one producer, but that producer would produce multiple different artists. So our common link was basically through UB. At the time, my lady went to UB, but I'm from Buffalo. I'm from right here. Matter of fact, one street over, almost directly. But down the street, right across the street, my man Scotty Earl, he was the main producer for Upstate, which was one of the largest and most effective and dynamic groups that really it still sent ripples, through this day. And what I remember is that there was a lot of guys that came from New York, and New York was the mecca. But when you had Buffalo moving to the point where, it was raising eyebrows from these cats that was coming up from UB and other areas, it made a great impact. And when I mean UB, I'm talking about from New York City, from that mecca. And the birthplace of hip hop is where this man, this is where he came up. You know what I mean? But tell us something that you remember about the era. Come on, give us something.
Oh man, I was just listening to Tribe Called Quest on my way over here. We was listening to what was we listening to? What was that song? Yeah,
tell them about the Fountain of Youth. Tell them about your group, the group you was in. We had one of our common bonds was it was a producer. His name is Epic. His name is Sheldon. If you go in there, he rubbed elbows with a lot of different people, but he was a DJ at UB, and I believe that's how we really started rocking together, right?
Oh yeah. Fountain of Youth, like 1990.
So Fountain of Youth was a group with this man and his twin brother, and anybody familiar with Delano Elwood, they were a three-man group, and it was Fountain of Youth, and I was part of a group called Sound Wisdom.
Word. And you can tell by the names Fountain of Youth and Sound Wisdom, we wasn't just, on a regular stuff. We was really trying to, do something different, and we wasn't really trying to just waste our time trying to rhyme. But we was actually trying to teach somebody and teach ourselves, really. Because, when you try to rhyme, it's because you're trying to learn something as well. But yeah, it was a learning experience for me. So I looked up to the rappers that really was trying to teach you, like Rakim and
he's trying to be humble. This dude was a beast. A lot of people see now, they know him from his poetic days, but he was one of them type of dudes that you'll be in the cipher, and the cipher ain't like, today you see on BT, it'll be a line of dudes and everybody jump up. But the cipher was a circle, and we honed our skills by passing that mic around. And you see somebody back, and you wasn't coming back whack, and you was memorizing so many different things because you couldn't be coming back with old material. And this was a dude, you might be in there trying to lay low, and this type of man would actually call you out and hammering on you. And you really could not, I'm telling you, they don't want it.
Yeah, when I first started, my name was Hostile. I went by the name Hostile. I love to battle. I used to lose a lot of battles, but I still had a passion for it anyway. It didn't matter. But then I had, like a spiritual experience, and I became the sun child. I spent a lot of time with, my mother and Father Nature and stuff. And I became sun child, and I kind of calmed it down a little bit. Nowadays, I find myself in the church totally, I'm kind of not even rapping that much, because there's like a struggle between the spirit and the hip-hop is more soulful, It's not like something you can get into really spiritually and calm down. Even when you rap as a Christian, you still find yourself battling something. It's like,
I'm spiritual as well, but my thing is, when I look at my everyday situation, when I had to walk to school, I walked to school in this neighborhood. I went to church in this neighborhood. My grandmother lived in this neighborhood at a certain point in time, and when you walk the streets and you deal with people every day, you got material coming up all day. And we came up in a perfect era, at least within the 90s, where it was really acceptable to be able to use that kind of material content. But what happened as the 90s went on, what I noticed is that when we would do shows, less and less people would be doing what I was doing. And then people would come up and say, hey, I like that what you did. You didn't even curse. You know what I mean? Like they expected to hear some cursing or whatever inside of the rhymes, or expect you to be talking about shooting up the club or females or whatever it might be. And so as I went further and further, what I found was that my lyrics alone really fit very well in the spoken word scene that was coming up. And these my peoples back here. Now this is deep. Check this out. So in the hip hop circles, I was known as the missing link. Is that right? But when I went in the poetry circles, a lot of the MCs would just call me Link. Well, in the poetry circles, I went and I rocked with Missing. And Missing stood for mentally I'm scarred, so I need God. And basically, matter of fact, the first competition that I got in, I won with just straight raps. It was just straight raps, but this was a cappella. But my thing is, the purest thing was to come from your heart. And that competitive aspect is good sometimes. As a young MC, it helps you sharpen your sword, but it can make you mad phony. And it kind of bothered me that if I can't sit there and listen to somebody else and enjoy their vibe, it didn't feel real. And one thing that actually hurt me about the poetry scene here was that although the hip hop scene was way more street, you had a lot of real, not no fake thugs, some real cats that was in there, but the ethics was mad higher. It was a certain way that we operated and we functioned, and it was like, you know, it kind of made me fall back. But then as you evaluate in life, man, we had great things going. I think it was some great movements. This man right here, James, at one point in time, I identified him as one of the most powerful people in relation to the spoken word. I'm gonna tell you why.
We're going to start out with a brief recap, and then we're going to delve right in. So, of course, it's coping with stress and anxiety. And it's in this age of pandemic, protest, and politics. And so as we went through, and this wheel shows us that when we go through different traumas in our life, whether it's physical, sexual, and all the host of things that are listed here, and as she reminded us that most of us by the age of 18 have gone through at least one trauma, and she shares some statistics with us. And so the whole thing is when we have traumatic and stressful experiences and they are excessive over a long period of time, it basically begins to wear on the body. Imagine when you're driving a car. I started learning to drive. My father insisted that I learn to drive using a stick shift. And I was quite frustrated because you know what? Clutch in, clutch out, move it at this. You had to get the timing just right. And I remember one day very frustrated, and I said to my father, why do I have to learn how to drive a stick shift? And my father is a traditional Southern man in this sense, that you do what I say, period. But in moments of time when I really needed to have that fatherly male perspective, it was there. And one thing he said that has never left me in decades of living, he said to me on that street where I was learning how to drive a stick shift, he said, as a father, I need to know that there's no vehicle on earth my daughter can't drive. I hated stick shift. And then he let me take my test on an automatic, but he made all of us learn on the stick. What am I saying? There's a point, if you don't get things rebalanced, it strips, it drags, you can hear the grinding. So that's the same thing with ACEs. If we don't get to that point where there's a balance, where there's a healing, where there's an acknowledgement, you can't heal what you don't acknowledge. You can't, if you don't put it on the table, it can't be served to you for your healing. It's like that chronic ongoing, and that engine is revving. At some point, you're going to burn out a transmission. You're going to burn out the clutch. So you have to figure out how to do it. And that's what we're going to figure out today. We're going to figure out how to take all this information that has been planted with us. So when we do that, that's ACEs. Then the next thing is we talked about looking at adverse experiences and connecting them to our community. There's one thing, and that's something that It's taught also to us in seminary, and it's called womanist theology. You don't need to remember that, but this is basically it. It's something that Alice Walker, the writer of Color Purple, helped coin the term. A womanist is a woman that ties her wellness and her healing. We don't separate it from our community. And I'm not talking about the community outside our house. Our community begins within our house. And that as women of the diaspora, women of color, women of any descent that touches the continent of Africa, family is in the essence of the air we breathe. And so therefore, our way of moving through life is to take our community with us in our hearts, in our spirit, and in our work. So when we look at adverse childhood experiences and adverse community environment, there is a point. So if you just look where the roots are on this tree and the roots in the trunk meet, that's where we kind of exist. We find a way to marry the two together. And yesterday we learned that if we don't fix the things that are in our childhood, and we have these things in our community that come against it, after a while, it takes a toll on our wellness, physical wellness, mental, spiritual wellness. So when you pair all these devastating things together, there must be healing at the table. We are often taught that whatever you need to do to keep the family together or to keep whatever you're part of together, you keep it together, you keep it moving. But the unfortunate thing is at some point, the clutch is going to burn out. So I want to continue, and I want to add this metaphor, something for you to think about. I often teach that in life, there are 4 balls. 3 are glass, 1 is rubber. Just bear with me for a second. In life, there are 3 balls.